Good evening and welcome to the Cheese Room podcast. We were just having a heated debate about Formula One before the show, which is nothing to do with the show whatsoever. That being said, all I've got to say is well done, Max Verstappen, on becoming a first-time world championship. On with the show. All the way from Vienna, he's my frenemy. He is the Harlow Globetrotter. How are you this evening, HG?
I'm doing really well, but I want to tell anyone who's watching that forget the first 95% of today's show. Just watch the final lap, could we say, and then we'll find out who won today, because that's how it works in Caller's world.
You just can't let it go, can you? Speaking of letting go,
the whole thing's a farce. The whole thing is an absolute farce, and you're a fanboy of it.
In your opinion. Speaking of...
You are a fanboy of it, right?
God, I am going to press the mute button. Speaking of letting things go, here's a man who has absolutely let himself go. It's Brendan. How are you, mate?
Let myself go. I'm the fittest I've been in years. Anyway, but yeah, you look like, you remember when there was that episode of Friends when Joey was pretending he was a Porsche driver, like he had the cap and the jacket. You look so cute. Look at you, kitted out in your Red Bull. Good man, good. Yeah, had a heavy weekend. So no cocktails tonight, just talking about, I'm assuming we're going to talk about football, but what football?
I mean, yeah, Milton Keynes is just down the road from me, which is obviously where Red Bull are based, hence why one of the reasons why they are my team. But thanks for commenting on that. It's great to have you on again, Brendan. And joining us all the way from the South Coast, Mrs. HG's favourite bit of crumpet, it is John. How are you, John?
Good evening, everyone. I'm very well, thanks. Had a nice Christmas lunch at work today. I didn't actually drink. I just thought, come home, look after the wife and the kids, be a responsible adult-ish, and be here for you lovely people. Yeah, and try and referee you two, which was quite entertaining beforehand.
It was quite entertaining. You have to watch the start, though, just to see if there's a crash. There has been a car crash already, me and HG going at it non-stop. And so Max won, Hamilton is a twat. Yep, I would agree absolutely with that. So what we're going to talk about tonight, guys, we've got loads to get through. Clearly, no football, no Spurs related football. So we've got a few topics that have been volunteered by resident run sheet creator Dave. So first up, what Christmas gift would you get for individual players? Yeah. I'm not going to do that one, Dave. Sorry to disappoint you. And it doesn't get any better, although you can play along at home. What gift would you buy for Daniel Levy? What gift would you buy for Daniel Levy? We can do it at the end, but, you need to get these comments in.
How can I answer that one? How to buy a decent footballer book.
Is there such a thing?
Well, I just make it up.
For dummies.
Buy transfers for dummies. That'd be quite a good one, yeah. Let's talk first about the game being called off and the likelihood of our next fixture being played. HG, obviously we covered on the past show. COVID is back with a vengeance, it seems. And the last fixture called off. Is it likely we're going to play again soon? What are your thoughts?
Well, the club are expecting to play on Thursday, aren't they? And so if they're expecting it, I suspect it's going to happen. Like unless Leicester come up with a whole bunch of COVID cases, I think Spurs are thinking it's going to happen. So yeah, I do expect us to play on Thursday night. I'm not sure I want us to. I quite like having a bit of time off to argue and watch other nonsense. I do expect it to happen. I think Spurs will play. And the way things are going, Spurs might be the only game on this week because everyone else is now going down with COVID. But
it does seem like there is a lot of it going about. Brendan, do you think there was one player that sparked all of these, a chain reaction of COVID events? Or is it just bad fortune? And do you think we're going to see more of this potentially going into the Christmas break, aren't we?
Do we know the players that were affected? We spoke about this on the last show, didn't we? So Son, maybe it's Son, because everyone loves Son. So everyone's giving him hugs and kisses and licking his face. Maybe he started it. Then we played Norwich. Then Norwich played Man United, and now there's an outbreak there. So I know it's the players that are sort of kissing each other and hugging each other a lot more that are probably doing more harm than good. Although it's always good to hug people.
Can I just say, if this had happened 10 years ago, we'd all be blaming John Terry without even asking any questions.
John Terry be claiming it.
Yeah.
No questions. Absolutely. Apparently, we're training together. So we assume, John, the players that are back are Emerson and Hill?
Well, they were the two that weren't in the squad at the Norwich game. Going back to the previous question, I think we mentioned it on Friday. Obviously, Ivan Toney apparently has COVID, and we played them a few days before Norwich.
Ground zero.
And he was rubbish against us, wasn't he? We were expecting him to be a lot tougher. So I'm wondering if he already maybe had it, but obviously they tested the day before the game, not on the game. Is that correct? I think. So maybe he had it and it started to work into him then, maybe. That could be one option. Or it could be one of our players got it, getting a haircut or anything, really. But I would say Emerson and Hill were the first two. Son obviously played on Sunday, so he wouldn't have been the first one to get it.
I did hear that a rumour that it might have been, was it Steve telling us that it might have been a tattooist that gave Emerson Royale? Steve's feeling pretty poorly himself. There he is. Shout out, Steve. I hope you are feeling better soon. He looks very sad. Are you on the toilet there, Steve?
He looks like Friar Tuck from the Robin Hood Prince of Thieves movie.
He does look a little bit upset. So, Steve, get well soon, and hopefully, Twitter, not Steve. So the rumor on Twitter was that was absolutely that Emerson could have spread that through the squad by having a tattoo by someone infected with COVID. Who knows what's going on? Leicester also suffering HG. Who'd have thought that? I think they've got, 4 or 5 players out themselves?
I don't know about the COVID situation. I think Lookman... look, I mean, if they've got lots of players out and so have we, then the game probably shouldn't take place. But I think Lookman was out for the game, whoever they played, Newcastle. Yeah. They lost Johnny Evans to injury. So there's a few reasons for Leicester to say, actually, we don't want to do either. Obviously, Dele and James Maddison are excited to play against each other or maybe sit on opposite benches. But, yeah, look, it's a weird one because it feels like, again, from afar, it feels like the whole of the UK is dealing with something new again and having to come to terms with what might be happening. And the football teams are no different to everyone else.
Well, I mean, is there any sort of precedent for this in Europe? Do you know, HG? I mean, you're much more up on European football than any of us. Is there much cancellation of games on the continent right now? No.
I mean, we haven't had any in Austria for COVID, but obviously we went into lockdown. So for the last few weeks, there have been no fans at games. So do you know what I mean? Like the games haven't stopped because the players have got it, but I guess life has stopped a little bit in some areas. And I know that in German football, it depends on the state. So I think Leipzig games have been behind closed doors for a few weeks. A lot of the teams have had maybe 30% capacity. So there've been some fans at some games, but the restrictions that have been going on in Austria and in other countries in Europe for a while have affected football attendance, but not the matches themselves. The matches have gone ahead.
Yeah. And Brent, Man United now reporting cases, more than one. What does it look like the future? I mean, Daniel Levy must be sitting there absolutely cacking himself that the stadium's going to be empty again in a minute, and we're going to be in a lockdown with just the TV money coming in.
Yeah, so good. The Premier League have sort of launched the emergency measures, whatever that means. I just guess that means put up more signs and stuff. But no, I'm sure there are protocols. And
red zone.
Yeah, get the red zone. So that means that Paratici and Hitchin are going to be on the bench. It's going to be a permanent fixture now. Those two. Yeah, no, there's a worry. Like it seems to be spreading a lot faster now. Obviously, it's the winter in the UK, so these things do sort of spike anyway. Add to that the Omicron variant and people's general sort of malaise with it, and people being fed up with the government after what's happened with Boris and his Christmas parties and the hypocrisy there. So it doesn't look good. You kind of hope that this is the worst, but I don't think it will. I can see it getting worse, and thankfully it's not. People aren't getting that sick with the Omicron variant. I think one death, in the UK. It is very much a milder version of COVID.
That's an interesting point. That I mean, we've not really heard too much on that, if I'm being really honest, Brent. That's been surmised, but that's not what That's not what we're being told at the moment. We're being told to vax up, hell for leather. And just to be really clear, apparently it wasn't a party; it was cheese and wine.
And then a quiz. The quiz happened now, didn't it? I don't know. But by all accounts, the person that sort of mentioned about the Omicron, a doctor in South Africa, said that thankfully it is a lot milder than the other strains. So there's so much news floating around. I might be wrong there, but it's certainly, we're not seeing the sort of death rates that we saw maybe a year ago. So that would suggest, even if cases are increasing, that this is far less dangerous. And obviously we need to control it, but maybe we will see it through.
I thought it sounded like a Transformer 2, to be perfectly honest, Phil. But there you go. It isn't. Premier League has confirmed that between Monday, December the 6th and Sunday, December the 12th, they tested 3,805 players and club officials, 42 new positive cases. So that is a lot, isn't it, John? That is a lot. And I suppose, just going back to my point, do you expect, and let's just talk pie in the sky for a minute, do you expect us to ever go back to a position where we're locked down? Because if we do, that's really going to affect our January transfer budget.
I could see us going for a possible, in January, some sort of lockdown of some kind. Apparently, they're already putting in plans, ideas of possibly reduced capacities, or wearing masks inside the stadium. That was one thing I noticed on the Norwich game. Very few people wearing masks in the concourses, and no one really wearing them in the bowl itself. But I think they might have to. My biggest worry at the moment is how are they going to get 60,000 people into that stadium checking all their COVID passports? Because they tried it at the pre-season game, didn't they, against Arsenal, and the queues were huge. And that was just trying a trial where they didn't have to do it. If they're going to have to do this properly, it's going to be a nightmare.
Well, and they're going to have the QR codes. Isn't it simply a case of scan your ticket, scan your passport, and then you're through?
Well, you would hope so, but I don't think the technology's in place to do it. I think that's the issue. I don't think they've got it hooked up. And I suppose,
I know when I went to games here back in, it was June or July. I had to physically show. I mean, I had it on my phone, but I had the little that's German. The vaccination booklet with me, and I showed them that, and I've got a laminated copy of my passport that I carry with me everywhere, so I can prove that I'm the person on it. And I did that, and then I showed my ticket to the next person, and we got in. So it took a bit of time, and obviously, the stadium here is 25,000 max, so nowhere near the size of Spurs, but it is possible to individually check anyone who gets in the stadium. You just got to get there early.
Well,
yeah, I remember going there. There were queues. It depends on which entrance you go into, but for the game, the City game is the only game I've been to this season. They were sort of randomly checking, so there's sort of more of a delay than normal. But if it has to be done, it has to be done. If it means bums on seats, if it means we do keep having fans in the stadium, which we all want, then they're going to have to find the technology to allow it. But then do Brentford, do Burnley, do Palace. So it has to be across the board, or it won't work.
A question for you there, Brent. Simon says, how are the Brazil authorities dealing with the virus? I mean, they didn't really deal with it at all for about a year, did they?
Yeah, it depends. It was sort of left to the state sort of governors to control. So there wasn't much of a federal sort of message other than it's just a little flu, you'll get over it, and then 600,000 people died. So it's more dealt with by state by state. So some states like Sao Paulo are taking it more seriously than other states in perhaps Minas Gerais. There was the first leg of the Copa do Brasil yesterday in Minas Gerais in the Mineirão Stadium, where Germany beat Brazil 7-1, and it looked pretty full. No masks, so it's not fully arrived, the new variant here yet. But if and when it does, then they've got decisions to make here. But certainly from a federal level, the government's not really paying it much attention and just leaving it to the governors and saying, well, it's their problem to sort out. But at the moment, supporters are going to games.
Cover this while we think of it. According to Ornstein, This has been reported in several papers. Spurs will listen to offers for Dele in January. The loan move, the most likely outcome. Thoughts on that, HG? I know you're a big backer of the boy Dele.
Yeah, I am, but I can see it happening. I think if Conte doesn't want to play him, he's not played too many minutes under Conte since Conte arrived. If it's something that we can see, but it's the whole loan situation, right? Like players in and out are probably going to only be loans right now. We'd be fortunate if it was mandatory purchase at the end of it. But considering what happened with Foyt, maybe the club won't want to do that either. So there's a very good chance he won't be playing for Spurs in the second half of the season. But as we've talked about on other shows, we do need players. Like even if we were keeping Dele, we'd still need players. So yeah, he's got a chance to go somewhere else most likely, and maybe play a bit more often. Which clearly he needs more games. He needs regular football. Hasn't really had that for most of the last 2 years, and so yeah, it's a chance. But yeah, it does feel more like the end of the road now because Conte has the chance to use him. Mourinho obviously didn't. Mason did a little bit, and Nuno did, but in a position that I don't think suits Dele. So. Yeah, it's weird. Where does he fit into the system that Conte's played? I'm not sure he really does. So I can understand why he wants him gone, but I do think that if he's in the right team and the right system, you'll get the player that we saw 4 or 5 seasons ago.
Well, Bren, do you think anyone's going to be paying any money in January for players given the state of the world and this new variant? And I suppose the worry for me is there's going to be new variants all the time, right? So, if this is how the world reacts every time there's a new variant out, when's it ever going to go back to normal? Because it's just going to keep happening, isn't it? That's 2 questions there, quite big ones. But firstly, do you think it's going to affect our January transfer plans? What's your thoughts?
I don't think so. I think that Conte would probably given some assurances that there will be money available. That would have been ring fenced and Paraticis on the phone, trying to get those deals done. I can see a lot of movement with Italy, obviously, because of the connections there. But like HG says, we're probably going to have to be creative as well in shifting players out, like Dele, Winks, players like that. Their stock isn't very high. We're not going to get the fee that Levy will want anywhere close to that. And other clubs will be a bit more precautious, keeping an eye on the COVID situation and their funds. So it's going to be loans. I still think there'll be a fair bit of movement. There was talk of sort of 10, so 5 in, 5 out. I think that's a bit optimistic for a January, certainly during COVID. So, but if we get 3 or 4 out and get 3 or 4 in, spend a bit of money because clubs will be needing money as well. So Fiorentina are after 70 million for Vlahovic. If we have it, let's go for it. Do you know what I mean? So I think we should be looking to spend the money that we clearly told Conte that he'd have to spend in January.
Yeah, it'd be very Spursy to then take it off him because we were a bit worried about Kobe, wouldn't it, John?
Everything's Spursy these days. I'm just like lost. Even the Grand Prix was Spursy, wasn't it?
Do we really want to go? I mean, I'm seeing a lot.
Can
I
just get back to the Dele thing?
It's just nonsense.
Where's he going to go?
Yeah. Dele.
Even if we paid his wages, who's actually going to take him?
Is it how much are you on? About 120 grand a week or something?
Something like that, yeah.
Yeah, so it's a fair old wedge for a Premier League, even for a Premier League player. Where's he going to go?
Is Poch going to take him?
That's the most logical place, isn't it?
Maybe not if you're Dele. I mean, is he really going to play for PSG? I don't think he will. Like he will surely want to play. He hasn't really played football for 2 seasons, so yeah. Like I see that Kerry's put Newcastle. He'd get regular football for sure, but again, like
120 grand a week.
Well, but yeah, they probably would. That's true. But I just think that are they going to be playing the type of football that he wants to be playing? I could see him going like if it's just a 6-month loan somewhere, I think he'll go to any team that wants to play attacking football. Newcastle may not be good enough to do that. And we've talked about this before. Dele does need players around him that are good. He's not going to be able to do it by himself. And at Newcastle, I don't think they're going to get enough players for him to be one of those. So, yeah, I mean, Paul said West Ham. West Ham are a good team. I don't know where he would fit in there, though, and I certainly don't think Spurs would would let him go there, because right now West Ham are a rival for what we want to do. I could see Spurs thinking abroad. I could see Delhi thinking, yeah, why not? You know, if I saw, I think today, a link that there are a couple of German teams interested. If you look at German football the way it is, you know, obviously Bayern are miles ahead. Dortmund are probably the next best by quite a way. But after that, you've got a big scramble for the final 2 spots, whether it's Leverkusen or I think Union Berlin are up there. I mean, there's a whole bunch of teams that are there or thereabouts for Champions League going for it. So that might be a good place for him too. It's not as if Germans don't speak English, so the language barrier is not a massive issue because they'll all be able to talk to him. So I just, there will be options for him, I'm sure, because for most teams, it's pretty much like, unless you're desperate for something that will work, you can't really lose with Delhi. If you get him in and he does really well and he likes the club, you may well be ahead in the race to sign him permanently in the summer. But there's so many ifs and buts.
Well, I mean, there you go. We should give Newcastle, Delhi, and Winkston a double deal for 80 million. Wow, what a good idea that is, Craig. I tell you what, I hope someone signs Harry Winks. I've got this nasty feeling he's going to hang around, though, Brent. He's like he just won't flush down, will he?
I've just got a picture of a Winks-shaped poo now. I think Conte prefers him over Delhi. I think he's played him more, certainly. But again, we know what we're getting there. So I think Conte's sort of got his hands full in transforming Davies into Maldini and Lucas into prime Ronaldo. You know, like, how many miracles can he work? But I don't know. I think that after the game that we lost in Europe against Mura, Conte sort of knew then. It's like, no, this squad needs work. I can't work miracles. So I can see Winks going. He needs to go, and so did Delhi as well, for their careers as well as for us. These things have to happen. Sadly, that when a player sort of hits a rut and a change in surroundings, new players around you, it does help them as well. So you'd hope that they'd be okay with it. And like while Winks is sort of part of the furniture, sitting in the cafe, talking about like Instagram and Sky Sports and all this that he did in the documentary. Go and sort your career out, mate. You could play for England. You were on the verge of playing for England. So find a team that will play you and get there rather than just sit around.
No, but I mean, Brendan's absolutely right. Like, if Winks plays week in, week out, you'll see a bit more of him. But he's not going to do that at Spurs. And if he stays in the Premier League, where is he going to go? It'll be to someone like Southampton. It'll be someone down there that plays decent football, but like aren't really battling relegation. So there's no massive pressure on it. You can just go there and play almost like pressure-free football, which might suit him. So I don't think there's going to be too many teams, because like I saw Everton today were possibly interested. I think that's just paper bollocks. But
they do love a shit signing.
But if it's Everton, they don't have any money. But if it's Everton, I mean, again, there's pressure there. Like, Everton are certainly in the bottom half, maybe bottom quarter of the table. They need results, and if I wanted results, I wouldn't be looking at Harry Winks to shore things up or to give you goals from midfield. He doesn't do either of those things. So you need to have a team that is a bit more comfortable. So you're looking at anyone who's between 8th and 13th probably for Winks right now, and even then, if they're comfortable, why would they want him to strengthen their depth? Do you know what I mean? There's a weird kind of dichotomy there. It's like what's it going to be?
Okay. Well, we can absolutely talk about transfers. So stick your transfer rumours up in the chat and we'll get to them as we get through the show. Let's preview Leicester in the dreamland that the game is actually on this week, because as HG rightly said earlier, the rumours are we are planning for that match to be played. Brendan, your namesake, having a bit of a wobble this season, isn't he? Leicester not quite the force that they once were.
Yeah, he's not very proud. He's not very proud anymore. Very proud of players. I watched the game against Newcastle. Was it yesterday or Saturday? They're not great. Yeah, they won 4-0, but this was Newcastle. They didn't really try. Madison did okay. He had a free kick that skimmed the top, and Tielemans got I think it was a pen, and Daka. Vardy was on the bench. Vardy didn't even start the game. I don't even know if he came on. So I don't know if he's coming back from an injury. But they've been sort of stuttering along this season. They're in 10th, 9th, 10th now. After the 3 points, maybe 9th. And I don't think we got anything to fear there. I think we can go there. Oh, hang on. Are we at home?
No, it's at Leicester.
It's at
Is that
Leicester.
Leicester?
Just up the road.
Yeah, for you. So yeah, we can go there and depending on the players that we have, that's the other issue is we don't know who we can field. I saw a news report that we can only field 13 players.
Yeah, I mean, I'm seeing a lot of this. We could have 13 players. I think that's likely, do you, Brent?
Well, if it's only 13, then we can surely postpone this one as well. I don't know. It depends on the 13 as well. But yeah, I wouldn't feel happy. We need to have options, but Leicester will be tired. They had the game. We didn't, so you'd think we'd have a bit more in our legs to go at them. But then we've had we've not been training all this time either. So it's a weird one. This is new territory for everyone. But yeah, I don't think there's much there to fear from Leicester. Daka looks a good signing. If Vardy still isn't back from his injury, we've got every reason to go there. They got booted out of Europe, and Brendan. I thought I was the only Brendan in the world that hated the conference, but I found Brendan Rodgers comes along and says, "I don't even heard of it." It's like,
well, I mean that's fairly standard, Brendan. Let's at this point let's hand over to HG and to give us his view on the Leicester manager.
Bleep, 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 overrated, bleep. Yeah, like the Northern Irish Ronald Koeman, the British Ronald Koeman. Picks his jobs really well, moves jobs quite often, isn't actually that good. Obviously, you know, the thing is, like he did win the FA Cup last year, so you got to give him credit. But that's like giving credit to Mikel Arteta, who also won the FA Cup. I don't really want to do that for that reason either. Yeah, everyone knows how I feel about Brendan. John, talk about Brendan. No one wants to hear me talk about Brendan.
I won't talk too much about Brendan. What I will say is Vardy played the full 90 in Napoli, Brendan. That's why he didn't play on the weekend. And obviously, I've forgotten is it Daka? I can't remember his name, the striker who scored. Did he score? He played up front. They obviously rate him quite highly. So it gives him a chance to put him in. Vardy's, you know, he's approaching middle age, a bit like Caller.
I saw your jab today on Facebook calling me middle-aged. I'm 39 years old. That is not middle-aged. Let us know in the comments if you think 39 is middle-aged. I'm saying it's not because I'm expecting to live to at least my middle-age.
And if you don't think it's middle-aged, does Caller look middle-aged?
Oh, no, we know the answer to that. I don't look middle-aged. I've skipped middle-aged. I look ancient. Can't all be Benjamin Button like you, John.
Thanks, mate. I've been looking at, I've been Googling a little bit during the pod. Apparently, we've got our under-23s have been sent home, and we've got another first-team player has tested positive. I've read some reports that come out today. So I think Leicester are desperate for this game to go ahead, even though they've got some players with COVID. It's a good time to play us. I would rather this game gets called off. Maybe Conte's just getting the players that are there ready in case we can get a couple more players back by Thursday. I guess he's got to play the contingency, hasn't he? But if we have... sorry, I just saw Simon's comment.
Look, 59, that might be a little bit desperate, but, you know...
I'll give you 57.
I have another baby in January. I'm going to look about 100 by the time February's finished. Christ. Face will be hanging off. I like this one. Rodgers is an annoying man. He exudes smugness. Yeah, it's never held you back, has it, HG?
No. Simply put, no. Rodgers is better at being smug than I am because obviously he makes good money doing what he does.
He does.
Following other people's good work and actually not really doing much himself, whether it's Roberto Martinez at Swansea or all the players that Claude Puel bought for Leicester, all the players that Dalglish and others bought for Liverpool. Who did Brendan Rodgers buy for Liverpool? No one, really. Suarez was already there. Sterling was already there. He times his jobs really well. He goes to Scotland when Rangers aren't even in the same division for most of it. It's a great looking CV. I just question the amount of quality that he's been responsible for, and he doesn't, which is why I think he's super smug.
Cooler.
Yeah. Would you believe there's 90
Sorry,
people? No, you can't. No, there's 90 people watching and 25 likes. John, go ahead.
So I was supposed to say, did you just compare HG to Brendan Rodgers?
No, not directly, but yeah, now you say it, there is a similarity there. He's not smiling.
No, he's not having it.
No, it's fine. I don't mind. Insults from you are just perfect. They're great.
So, there we go. Let's get back on track. Coming back after a 2-week break, in effect, I thought about this. Straight against Liverpool could kill the momentum. We need Thursday to go ahead. Well, yeah, if we win. As John, sticking with you, is that a real threat? It's going to be really hard. I thought coming off the back of COVID into Liverpool, that is like the worst cocktail you could have, isn't it?
Depends how many players we've got fit for Leicester and which players, because it could be a really hard game, Leicester, if we've got a weakened team. Whereas in some ways you might be better off just. Although, is it going to be easier? Is it going to be easier not having a double Conte training session and just playing the game? Because he has been working them hard, or triple sessions, hasn't he? He's been working them really, really hard, by all accounts. Mm-hmm. But Liverpool are just so good at the moment. It worries the hell out of me. It really does.
I think I've almost accepted we're going to get battered. Brent, let's stick with Leicester for the time being. What's your sort of Spurs team prediction for the Leicester game, knowing the people that were probably out with COVID?
So, do we know the ones that are probably out with COVID?
Oh, we know Lucas, Son, HG. Help me out here. Who else was this? Skip.
I think Skip was. I actually don't know. I think Skip was one of the ones that hasn't been training.
Skip.
Ben Davies. Ben Davies was one of them too.
Davies, Hill, Emerson. That's 6.
Yeah, we don't really. Things like Spurs haven't played for what seems like an eternity, so we don't really know anymore. We're just waiting for signs of life. When was the last press conference we had? Like the day after the Norwich game. I mean, it's been a week since we've really heard from Spurs at all. It's none of us really know what could happen. I think there's been a few training photos, but I haven't really checked those because I've got other things to do. But I hope if it does go ahead on Thursday, then it's a chance to keep the momentum. But I suspect that the momentum is already gone because we've we've missed 2 games already, and it could be a third. So it's a rough one. But we were playing well. Or we were getting better results. I don't think we were playing that well, but we were getting results against teams at home that we probably should. Spurs, for a while, haven't really done that, so that's at least nice to see. But Leicester away is never an easy game, unless Gareth Bale's playing. But I don't know. I just everything. Normally, everything would scream draw. Without COVID, with COVID, if they played it on Thursday, you'd think draw was probably the likeliest result. But Liverpool is a completely different kettle of fish because they are, on their day, probably the best team, I would think. Maybe not the best squad, but I do think they're the best team.
And I'd agree with you. I think they are, and they're bang on form at the moment. Whereas Chelsea are a bit wobbly, aren't they? City have been up and down. Liverpool haven't skipped a beat really. They've been fantastic.
We say that, but they all got dodgy penalties to win at the weekend. So, you just never know. If our defense plays well, then we could stop them from scoring. It doesn't happen often, but we could. We beat Man City doing exactly the same thing. So anything is possible. But if you were a betting man, you would not be you wouldn't be thinking that Spurs are going to win that game.
No. Imagine the uproar when teams get thrashed for being forced to play weekend teams. Yeah, that's a consideration. Let's just step back a minute and look at the Europa League, or Europa Conference League, I should say. We're not quite worthy of the Europa League. HG, how gutted are you about the draw? So Spurs or Vitesse versus Rapid Vienna in your hometown. You called it actually. Unbelievable, isn't it?
It's very Spursy for a Spurs fan to wait so long, and especially in the last year, Rapid Vienna have been drawn against both Arsenal and West Ham when we had chances to get Spurs. So it was almost like, okay, great, I have to watch the dregs come to Vienna first, and then it finally happens that Spurs might come here, and let's face it, it's probably not going to. So it's sod's law, basically. I had a feeling it was going to happen because I knew that this would be the one chance where we might not actually come. The good thing is if it does happen somehow, that maybe Austria won't be in lockdown anymore. We'll have fans in the stadium. Maybe not traveling fans, but there'll be a few Spurs fans in Vienna that will be able to go to the game, which would be nice if it gets that far. And I think I said this on Twitter earlier, and I got lots of pelters for it, but Rapid would rather play Spurs. Spurs are considered the Wunschgegner, the club that Rapid would want to play. Because for Rapid and to play in Europe after Christmas for Austrian teams is pretty rare, and I think this season there's going to be 3 teams that have made it through, one in each. Maybe I think Lask and Rapid are in this one Conference League, and then obviously Salzburg have got Bayern in the Champions League. But for Austrian football, that's massive, and so they were super excited about who Rapid were going to get, and so when it came out to be possibly Spurs, that's a big deal here. I fear that we won't get the chance to see them, which is obviously galling. But I did kind of I've had time to prepare for this. I thought it was going to happen this morning, and so fingers crossed something will come up, and that it will happen. But I don't know how.
Brendan, what are the chances that Tottenham get a bit of Max Verstappen style luck and keep their place in the Conference League? What are your thoughts? Are we getting booted out or what?
It all depends on the disciplinary board or the appeals board, where they
ethics
say
and something community
ethical decision to protect our players from coronavirus and protect opposition players from coronavirus. There's the thing where the rule might change where we can play the game after the 31st of December, because that's Rennes' big pissed off moment, is the fact that they don't want to play in December because they've got their winter break coming up. So if it happens afterwards, if they allow special dispensation, the game could go ahead in January. But then that contradicts what UEFA said. They've said that the game won't be played. So it all depends on who's being more of an arse about it. If Rennes are the ones that are saying we're refusing to play ball and find a date that works, maybe they're the ones that will have to forfeit the game. And to be fair, they're already through, so it doesn't really matter. But
it's interesting. I keep on looking at the 19th of January as being a possible day for it to happen, because you know me, I've got lots of time on my hands. I look these things up. That would be the day of any possible FA Cup third round replay, which hopefully Spurs wouldn't need. And when you look at Rennes' fixtures, there's nothing planned for a midweek in January at all. So they have lots of time available. They'd have time in December, but they don't want to use their winter break, which I suppose is fair enough. But if UEFA were to make an exception and be like, well, we have time in January, it'd still be a month before the first leg of the next round to play that game then. So I'd like to think it's possible, because clearly it is possible that the game is played. I do think that. We don't have to move a game in December for it to happen. But it's whether UEFA realise that perhaps that rule that would have been fine for most other countries, because it's affected an English team that don't have a winter break of any kind this season, that maybe it's worth trying to jig things around. And let's face it, it is in UEFA's interest that Spurs stay in the competition. That's an awful thing to say, but it's money based, and that clearly that's what it's on. They want Spurs to be in the competition. I do believe that. And it has to be done on sporting terms, which means we play Rennes. Whether Rennes play their kids, I would expect them to, because as you said, there's nothing on it for Rennes. So, if Spurs were in Rennes' position, we'd be sending over the kids, absolutely. And I think I wonder what Rennes would have done, when they came over last week. Were they bringing over everyone from the first team? I suspect not. So. Yeah, there's lots that could possibly happen, but I do think that UEFA will look for a solution that means that the game is played.
Who knew that UEFA had morals or ethics, to be honest? It's a bit of a surprise. Paul Muir estimated that Tottenham will receive only 10 million from the Europa Conference League, 10 million euro. That assumes that the UEFA will award victory to Rennes for the match postponed. So that may change. John, do we want to be in this Europa Conference League? I know it sounds arrogant, but is it a distraction from us firing up for top four?
I'm a bit split in the middle, a bit, doing a shan sitting on the fence. And one moment I'm thinking, do you know what? We could do without it. We could concentrate on the league.
Oh, don't be a shan.
And then you think, well, actually, this is a competition we can win. There's not many teams that are better than us, if any, to be honest, are there? Without being, a bit HG and arrogant-esque. But it is a fixture pile-up, potentially. But then, mind you, we could lose to West Ham and we could lose to the Shrimpers in the third round of the FA Cup and have nothing to play for but the league. You never know. But ideally, the game should be played, ultimately, for the... I can't think of the words. The morals of the competition. It really should be played. The group games need to be finished, don't they? Ultimately. Go from there. We might lose.
Yeah, I mean... And you're right, John. Like, if we do lose to West Ham, please no. But if we do lose to West Ham, that's another 2 midweeks that are open. The first one, Ren would refuse because it's before they come back from their break. But the second one, in theory, they could play it. So it's not in UEFA's interest to make a decision now, really. I think that if they went to the clubs and said, "Look, we want to have this done before the end of January," that.
Oh.
Sorry. Sorry, I lost you if you didn't lose me, but anyway. It's okay. So it's UEFA, to me at least, it's in their interest to get the game played on. When they do it, if they give you to the end of January, then great. Because I mean, there's the next round is the 17th and the 24th, and then they'll have another draw, and then the following round starts, I think, 2 weeks later. So, like, a 2-week turnaround for tickets and everything is what they're used to doing. It's not as if they need to know 2 months in advance as to what's going to happen. So, UEFA will probably realise that December 31st thing was a bit rash, and they'll postpone it a bit more. But I'm hoping, because I want the chance. Like, if Spurs don't win the game and we don't make second, then fair enough, right? But I would like us to be given the chance. Because I want them in Vienna. Of course I do.
Of course you do. Well, you might even get one of them journalist passes again now.
I've definitely try. Absolutely. Definitely. The guys who run there's an Austrian podcast here called the Other Bundesliga. You should follow them on all things you can follow them on. I know the guys. They're all good guys. They all hate Spurs because they're wankers, but they are good guys. And you can tell that, like, none of them really want to go and watch that game. They're like, they have to cover it because it's a big game in Austrian football. But you could, like, when we talked about it today after the draw, you could tell they were like, oh, it's another big team, but they don't really want to go. They always have little sly digs about Spurs being in the European Super League. And I think one's an Everton fan, one's a United fan, and one's an Arsenal fan. I mean, who cares? But they are good at what they do, and if they don't want to go, then I'll go with them. Absolutely, no problem there.
Apparently, the decision will be made by the end of the week, according to Craig, who I'm sure has his sources. Other sources are available, but we would be really happy about that, because I think it's dragging on a bit now. If I'm being really honest, I'm surely it doesn't take that long to make a ruling.
No, and the decision could easily be, we'll give you until the end of January. And they'll just push it off. Like, we've made a decision that the decision will be made next month. But it's, I don't know. Like, Spurs fans, I realise that it is just the Conference League, but it's a chance to play those players that it's a chance to keep people fit. Because if worse, and we lose to both West Ham and Morecambe, which please they can't happen. But if we did, then we'd all be sitting there going, "Oh, we'd like that competition to still be around." And I don't know, but maybe it is just my wishes talking rather than anything else.
Brendan, is there any Europa Conference coverage in Brazil?
Mm-hmm. No, I have to find a dodgy stream for it out here. You barely get Europa League, so like I said, I understand HG's motives, and I'm similar to John in kind of like both sides, but I just think it's the wrong time. We don't have the squad depth. It would be good for us to have full weeks with Conte, who didn't have pre-season training, just on the bench. And we saw what he did with Chelsea when they didn't have Europe as well. So, I get it. We should be looking to win everything, but I don't think we have. Well, again, if we do go out to Morecambe and West Ham, maybe we do have the time. But I'd rather we focus on the league, get as many points as we can, and try and get a domestic cup. It would mean more to me. Maybe come the final, I'd feel differently about the Europa Conference. But
we're playing in Baku or wherever it is. Yeah.
No, it's in Slovenia. It's in I've forgotten the name of the
Albania.
Tiny stadium in Albania with
Albania. Yeah,
22,000.
25,000 spectators. So half of that goes to UEFA. So there's going to be a couple of thousand Spurs fans there, if that. So they clearly don't care about us. You know what I mean? With inventing this new competition.
Hey, so, Brendan, are you going for the siege mentality look here? They don't care about us.
So I'd be happy to leave the competition because I don't have any emotional attachment to it whatsoever. Like at least with the Europa League, it used to be the UEFA Cup, and we've got form there. We've won it in the past.
You don't agree with that, then, Bren?
More prestige. Does it though? I'd much rather win an FA Cup than the Europa League. Much rather. It'd be great. Do they still do the songs for the FA Cup? Do we still do songs?
I don't think so. I think they died in the 90s. Yeah, I don't think so.
We haven't missed that.
We haven't been in the FA Cup final for a long time. So.
Yeah, we might. You know, well, you're not going to get Chaz and Dave, but yeah, you'll get someone doing a tune, I'm sure.
AJ Tracy with Adele, yeah?
Yes. I tell you what, that would be a collab I want to see. I want to tell you something, John. It's really exciting. We are 3 points off the top four with 2 games in hand. What could possibly go wrong from here?
Get COVID in the squad.
Look, is it not? I mean, is it not been to our advantage having a little bit of a break and watching everyone mess it up? Because who are the games in hand against? They're winnable, aren't they?
Burnley and Brighton, both tough games on their day, both away. I think, it's going to give Conte a bit of a chance. Hopefully, the players that he's worked hard will have a little bit of a rest and hopefully come back raring to go and not too damaged by having COVID. The ones that have been off. I don't know. Only time will tell. But it's been good seeing some of these teams drop points, and we're not slipping too far down the league, are we?
Talking of damaged, I'm just a bit gutted. I've just dropped my brand new iPhone. Look at the state of that. Oh. Absolute nightmare. It's all cracked and buggery. Not happy. I'm going to send that back.
What a case on it?
Yeah, that's with an Apple case on it, no less. 60 quid that case cost. Unbelievable, Jeff. Brendan, chances of top 4. What are you thinking? Are you thinking we're going to do it? Conte's got it under control. Win our games in hand, which are very winnable, and we're right in it.
Yeah, it all depends on the competition as well, and that's the other thing with the Europa League is that, or the conference going. If we do go out of Europe, our competition for that top 4 spot are mainly we're talking Man United, West Ham, and Arsenal. Man United and West Ham are still in Europe. So that could add to their distraction. They could pick up injuries there as well. So, certainly bringing in Conte was a sign of intent from Levy and the board that we want to go for the top 4. He's a winner. So it just depends on, as I said, on the competition. But I think, like I said, win those 2 games in hand. It's crazy how if Chelsea had beaten West Ham last week, we would have been top 4 after beating Norwich. So it's crazy with 3 points off top 4 with 2 games in hand, and those 2 games in hand are tough games but winnable games. All these things that will come about in sort of April. It's not going to happen now in terms of knowing the lay of the land. But why not? We've got an elite manager. We have got a decent squad. A few more players coming in January. Let's go for it.
Yep, smash the like, just like I smashed my phone. Maybe I smashed it yesterday when I was celebrating Max Verstappen winning. It did go on the floor. So there you go. I tell you what, there is some good stuff going on here. Conte's going to Wembley. His knees have gone all trembly. What about this? Cheese Room could do an FA Cup song. HG, are your dulcet tones lubricated and ready for action?
Well, you don't want me to sing my Tongi Dombele song that was doing the rounds about a year ago, or the The
When you say doing the rounds,
well, I did it on a few pods. Or the Fresh Prince of Hoybier, like that was a decent effort.
the Fresh Prince of Hoybier was very good. I have to say that was very good.
But a FA Cup final song. Like, I mean, considering some of the ones that have been released, we could probably do a decent job.
I think we could.
Stick on GarageBand. We'll sort it, no problem.
I think Majestic would release a Spurs song because I think AJ Tracy and Adele are probably a bit too far, but Majestic could be all over that. He'd get a little bits, get like the Fighting Cock to put a little bit in and sax and whatever, and have a sort of poddy FA Cup song. It'd be good.
Yeah. So if you don't do it, Ricky Sachs will. So we have to.
The Saxonator, he will absolutely. You can take a screen grab of that and tweet it out there. The HG rap. There you go. Daniel's a fan. Look at that.
I wonder what podcast that was on. The whole Fresh Prince of Hoybier. It would have been
a quiz pod, wasn't it?
We absolutely need to dig that out, and we absolutely need to. And then I can put it up like this. I can't take that picture. Jesus, I'll be seeing that. I'm asleep. Okay, who? What should we talk about now then? Score predictions. That's what we haven't done. Score predictions. So Leicester, obviously, the match is going ahead on Thursday. I need to get a beer. So HG from you and Round, you can score it up.
Score predictions for which one? For us against Leicester?
Yeah.
The game that's not going to happen.
Yeah. PP. If the game happens,
you've said 2-1.
I have said 2-1 because I say 2-1 in all games right now. 2-1 to the home team as well. It's just because with Spurs, like if our back three is what Dyer plus Sanchez and I mean who would it be if Davies is out? Like you have to think that's a bit worrying. Yeah, probably Tanganga, but it's still a bit worrying.
Or Rodon. Is he fit?
Who?
Rodon. You know that?
Who?
Amazing. To jump in. It's amazing that we're worried that Davies might be out. What's going on with the world?
Yeah,
Victor Moses.
Yeah, that whole left-footed balance. I don't know. I'll probably stick with 2-1 because Leicester can score goals. We know that. That their defense will be a bit ropey because I think Soyuncu is the only kind of centre back they've got fit. They had to play. Was it Sangari? No. Who's the guy they got? Sumare. He played at centre back against Newcastle and he was pretty ropey at the beginning. He's a midfielder by trade. So, yeah, the opportunities will be there. But, yeah, I'm still talking cool, unbelievably. I think I'm going to say I'll stick with the 2-1.
Ren?
After all that.
I'll go 3-1. I always say 3-1 as well. So Facey's always saying 2-1. I'll say 3-1. And it depends if Son's back because if Son is confirmed as one of the COVID cases. He's so important to us up top. So it really just depends who is out. But yeah, I'll go 3-1 based on nothing.
To which team?
Spurs, always Spurs.
Oh, okay, right. I went 2-1 in the predictor, although I'm starting to think it might be like a 4-4 draw or something because neither team's going to have any defenders, are we? Potentially. But I'll stick with 2-1. Cool. What are you thinking?
I think we'll draw. Yep. I mean, I want to be positive, but I can just see draw written all over it. I think let's go 1-1, low scoring draw. Mark Swift agrees with me. Just send in the chat. Yeah. Oh, I missed that. Sorry. There we go. 1-1. Kane loves a goal against Leicester. He does actually. It's about time he started showing up as well, really. And he needs a goal or 4. This Ben Davis has been making wrong. Oh dear. Yeah. I think a draw at Leicester is a good result. To be perfectly honest, I think I'd take that.
Dele likes a goal against Leicester as well. I remember in his first season, I think it was first full season. He scored.
I mean, you are going back a long way there, Brent.
and Son always scores against Leicester too. It's maybe we just play Leicester an awful lot because we don't seem to beat them too often. But
what's your favourite Leicester memory then, HG? Favourite Leicester game? Have you got one?
Weirdly enough, the season where they won the title, didn't we beat them in the FA Cup?
Yeah,
I think
2-0
we might have
there.
done.
I was there at
So
their place, sat with the
I-
Leicester fans.
I don't know why that one comes to mind. I should obviously talk about the 5-4 at the end of the season when Lamela was good.
I was there.
That those final season games, Lamela was always good. But yeah,
Kane was great that game. Kane and Vardy had basically a shoot off. I took Becky and she was absolutely loving it. Loved the nachos and the food at heart.
Yeah, nacho.
On as well. But the game, she was like, if every game was like this, I'd like football.
It sounds like Becky's like Crouchy and his nachos.
It was good. It was good. It was a great game. Honestly, really good day. And that's the day she got chatted up by Gazza as well. So there you go. Brent, got a favourite Leicester game?
Well, funny you should mention that. I'm going to be doing the Brazilian Shirt Name podcast with Tim Vickery and Dotun Adebayo this week. So look out for that if you like it. It's an amazing podcast where they choose one game and it's supposed to be iconic. So I don't know if us beating Leicester 1-0 in the Worthington Cup final in 1999 is iconic enough. But we're going for it. So, I'll go with that. Yeah, the Justin Edinburgh, Robbie Savage final. I was there and it was amazing to see us lift a trophy. Even though you couldn't see from where I was sitting, you couldn't see Campbell lift it up because it was the old Wembley and it was really low.
Don't mention that name.
Some guy. Oh, that's the other thing. It sort of almost feels hollow, the victory, because George Graham was the manager and Campbell was the captain.
I'd blank that out, to be honest.
It's the second last trophy we've won in the last 30 years. So
and not under Enoch. That was the last trophy won pre-Enoch, wasn't it?
Sugar was the sugar daddy at the time. So that'll be mine, and do listen out for that pod with Dotun Adebayo and Tim Vickery, where it's not just about the game. They talk about the news and the politics, the music at the time as well. So I've been swatting up. Do you know what was number one when we beat Leicester in the Worthington Cup final in '99?
99.
March 21st.
March
21st, 1999.
Something like, I don't know, some dance song. Sophie Ellis-Bextor, something like that.
No, you're never going to get it. It was Bewitched, Blame It on the Weatherman. It wasn't even Bewitched One Hit Wonder. This was their second song. And second was Boyzone, When the Going Gets Tough. I assume it was a comic relief.
I mean, you clearly didn't be doing a lot of swatting for this show.
Yeah.
I'm impressed,
Also, Rod Hull died that month, as did Ernie Wise.
Yeah, but Rod Hull fell off his own roof, didn't he?
Yeah.
That's how he died.
That was how he died.
Yeah.
The fiddler on the roof.
Oh my gosh.
Fixing his TV aerial fell off and died.
Yeah.
Oh, dear. Incredible.
Should we move away from death?
Yeah, I'm just trying to get past all it. What happened?
Can I do my game?
Died.
Yes, John, please. Yes, John.
John, let's do your game.
It's been mentioned a few times, but I think we have to go with the 6-1, the season after we didn't win the league against them.
Yeah.
And Kane was after the Golden Boot, and he scored. So was it a hat trick in that game, and then 4 against Hull a few days later?
Maybe the other way around. I don't know.
I thought it was 4 against Leicester, but either way, it was a lot. Yeah, it's a lot.
And Son scored a brilliant goal from about 25 yards as well. And that's where Vajovic came on, made his debut, got an assist, and then buggered off to Germany on a free transfer.
Lesniak, I think. I think it was Lesniak.
Lesniak?
Yeah, I don't know.
Okay.
I think it was Lesniak. I don't know where he is now, by the way. I haven't got a clue. But he did get an assist in that game for sure.
Velio, I'm sure it began with a V anyway.
Okay.
Went to Germany afterwards, played centre back for Croatia.
Werder Bremen. I think that's the guy you're thinking
Yes.
of. He's at Werder Bremen now. Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting stuff. So back to the questions we started the pod with. What would you buy Daniel Levy for Christmas, HG?
A cashmere sweater, obviously. He's such a connoisseur of them. Cashmere sweater. Obviously, I can't afford that. Certainly not for Levy. I don't know. Some platforms. Yeah. I mean, what does Levy need? Probably nothing. Go on, John.
I've got it. He needs a month's subscription to the Patreon chat.
There you go.
Absolutely, and you can get yours. The details are in the scrolling ticket below for £3 a month, which is considerably less than a pint in the new stadium. Lots of new patrons recently, so do get on that. And one day there will be merchandise. HG is far too nice. How much are you paying him to say these things, HG?
I know. I'm looking at his name, thinking, is that an obvious anagram of HG? I don't know. Like, thank you, Adrian. Thank you, but I've had nothing else to think about. My life is really boring. It's Spurs, and that's about it. But thank you, Adrian.
Some offers in here. I'd buy him a wallet that actually opens. That's a good one. A white cat to stroke. What's this one? A buy bot. I don't know what that is.
It's pretty much what I said earlier.
What a book of players.
Book of how to buy a decent player.
The Encyclopedia La Premiership or something. Yeah. Well, could buy. It gets better. Buy him a heart. It's like the Wizard of Oz. Jesus.
Wow.
Jesus.
Yeah. People don't like him.
He's hitching the lion by chance.
Is Hitchin what?
The lion.
Could be. Yeah. There you go. That's all I've got in the run sheet. What do you want to talk about, HG? Do you want to talk about F1 again?
No,
let's not go down there.
No, I mean, like the funny thing is that we both wanted Verstappen to win, right? So we should be happy.
Happy with the outcome, yeah.
Yeah, but yeah, not how it came to pass. No, I'm not happy with that. But that's where the disagreement lies.
Okay, Brent, got anything else you want to discuss? Get off your chest.
I think I'd probably just get him some bath salts because they're nice bath salts, aren't they? They're kind of like I'd never know what to get anyone, so I'd get Daniel Levy some bath salts. He looks quite stressed. He could sit there in the bath, listen to the Cheeseman podcast, or watch us on his phone, and enjoy some bath salts.
I'd definitely rather he was listening than watching while he's in the bath, if I'm honest. I know I'm a good-looking guy, but I don't want to excite anyone. A new scouting team. I mean, look, football for dummies. Some balls, moth repellent. I thought that's quite a good one. January transfer window. Adrian wants to talk about. Well, we covered it many times, but we can go back over it. Let's sign Vlahovic. Job done.
Yeah, it'd be interesting. Like if Fiorentina hold all the cards for this one, right? If they don't want to sell him in January, then they won't. So we really have to go in and pay exactly what they want, and I'm not sure we're going to do that. But it is interesting because you think if we wait 6 months, he may well have better offers than Spurs. Like if Haaland goes, then Dortmund will need a striker. He's basically Haaland. I mean, do you know what I mean? They're both tall, they're both left-footed. So it's like if he thinks that if he's interested in Spurs and we can make it happen, then January may well be the best bet. But if he's interested in Spurs, it's because of Conte. So let's hope that Conte's still around in the summer. And nothing weird has happened. He's not been poached by Real Madrid or some other massive club and thought, well, don't need Spurs anymore. I've got the club of my dreams. But we should. Like Vlahovic in January would be nice, wouldn't it?
Yeah. I think a centre back as well to go along with that. Well, and a creative midfielder if we're going to be greedy.
That's just it. There's a whole bunch of squad players we'd probably all like to improve on if we could. So yeah, by Roden a start for some people. Yeah. I mean, it is weird that he's not really had many games outside of the Conference League, and if we're out of the Conference League, he'll lose those opportunities too. So Roden, as much as his brother doesn't seem to think it could happen, he may well be looking for a loan as well.
Thoughts on that, Brent?
One thing about buying a centre back that I've seen recently is that Antonio Rudiger is not coming to Tottenham. Well, of course he isn't. First of all, he's what 400k a week is apparently Madrid are offering him, and after the incident a couple of years ago, there's no way he's coming to Spurs. Like I'd have him for the shit house. He's proper shit house. But on the transfers though. There are a lot of Italian players in the Italian league whose contracts expire in the summer. So we'll either pick them up on the cheap in January or on a free in the summer. So you're looking at Insigne, Brozovic, Kessié, Belotti as well as in there, and Kylian Mbappe. But you know what I mean? I think we can get creative. Romagnoli, Di Maria's are free. So there are players around that we can get relatively cheap in January. We just need to be creative, and players will want to come and play for Conte now. It's not like we've got Nuno at the helm. We've got one of the best managers in the world. So Bernardeschi as well from Juventus. Some really good players in the Italian league that we can go for.
Just on this, Vieira's comments and games should go behind closed doors. John, your view?
I think it's probably a bit early at this moment. The players didn't get COVID because of fans in the stadium, did they? So they just need to make sure the players are locked down properly. If it keeps spreading nationally, then yes, we might have to go to that point. I do think the potential idea of maybe cutting capacity in stadiums might be a starting point rather than going dramatically to no fans in the stadiums. So far, hospitalizations aren't that bad in comparison to the numbers. It's just going to be a case of seeing how it goes. I do think once we get New Year's out of the way, the government might do something more.
I agree with you. I think they might. But I also think it's crazy that you've got a stadium like Spurs. I mean, the rules they had it last time, where it was like no more than 3,000 people in the venue, which is ridiculous in a stadium the size of Spurs. So I think hopefully if they do restrict numbers, it'll be, hopefully we'll see a more sensible approach to it, because that was just bonkers, to be honest. I mean, when I went that Villa game where we lost, when Bergwijn actually scored his last goal, I think, and it was a belter.
It was a hell of a goal.
It was ridiculous. There was literally no one in the concourses. 3,000 people in, crazy. It's like not touching the sides. If
Can I just go back to Vlahovic quickly?
Go on. Yeah, go on.
Just because Fabrizio Romano is reporting that Jonathan Iconi to Fiorentina is pretty much a done deal, just down to the agents to agree. Lille president Letang confirms it's true Fiorentina want to sign him. So I don't know if he'll be a replacement for Vlahovic, or because is he more of a number 10? I'm not sure.
He's a very different player. He's much slighter than Vlahovic. He's not going to lead your line. But yeah, you can see that maybe Fiorentina are thinking that the money's on its way, and we're going to spend it and try and improve. Because that's what they'll do. They'll improve their squad. Like if Fiorentina could get Belotti in. Then they've got a proven goal scorer in Serie A who's in his prime. I mean, that would be a great move for them if they could do it. So I do think there is going to be one club that will realise that if the striker sweepstakes start next summer, with the whole Mbappe and Haaland and whoever, then if you can guarantee yourself one now, where you know that you're not going to get one of those big two and not be scrambling around, then why not? Because if all those clubs, there are so many clubs that need a striker. That maybe if Kane is going to go, then we'll have to do it in January. Maybe it's got to the point where Levy's thinking, well, if Kane goes in the summer to Man United because they'll need a striker, then we have to do it now. There are lots of moving pieces, but yeah, whatever happens in the summer with strikers, there is going to be one club that realizes. Arsenal are going to need a striker because Lacazette's going to leave and Aubameyang's 32 now. Yeah. So there are plenty of clubs that will need someone younger, and Vlahovic is, outside of Haaland and Mbappe, probably the third one that's wanted. It would be incredible if Spurs got him. Absolutely.
I like this question, so we're going to go back to it. If Levy called into the cheese room and said, "You can name only one player, and I guarantee I will never sell him," who would you pick, Brendan?
It's not always down to Levy, though, as well. Like, the player wants to go. Like, we've seen this with Harry now.
Yeah, but just play along, for God's sake. Stop reading the fancy. Jesus, who are you?
Skip. Fine.
Would you just skip? Why?
Yeah. Because I think that we're building a team around him. I think I'd want him to be at the club for the next 10 years. Sonny's getting on a bit still. He's, 28 now? Kane as well. So, yeah, skip. Like, under no circumstances.
Okay. Interesting.
What about you, Caller? You're going to disagree with Bren, so Caller, what do you think?
I think Skip's a good shout. I wasn't thinking of Skip. I was thinking of Son, to be honest, because of his importance to the side. I mean, I would have gone Lamella, but obviously he's already gone. But yeah, for me, Son. Kane, I would have said a year ago, Kane, probably. But we've seen how that's turned out. So clearly that's the wrong decision. But Skip's a good one. I didn't think of it. That's why I questioned it. It wasn't immediately obvious to me. Yourself, HG?
Yeah, I'm on the Kane train. Sorry, Kane. The amount of goals that Kane has scored for Spurs, I know he's not scored many this season in the league, but goal scorers do not come along every day of the week, and certainly not one as good as Kane. It has to be Kane to me.
We got two world-class players in the squad, in my opinion. Really world-class, Son and Kane. So one of them for sure. I agree with you, HG. John, throw us a curveball.
I'm just going to throw a fourth player.
Hey, Davis.
Fourth player. No, Romero.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
I'm not sure he's top world class now, but we're hoping he will be, and that's where I'm going.
Well, I've got to be honest. I think Skip's curveball was really. I think that was a great shout, to be honest.
He was brilliant against Norwich.
I mean, it was against Norwich.
Yeah.
You could probably shine in the midfield against Norwich, to be perfectly honest. Caller definitely doesn't think Weeks. Can I just add that? Say something too.
If anyone who takes Billy Gilmore out, any Chelsea player, brilliant. Goes up in my estimation.
Well, absolutely. Yeah, so I like that one. What are the transfer rumours? Have we got them?
There's also there was a comment at 10:04 by Simon Says, caller, which is not transfer related. But
10:04.
Yeah.
All right, I'm going for it. Oh right, yeah. If Spurs are on a journey and in transition, how long do we think it will be until we win a trophy, domestic or otherwise? I'm thinking end of next season. I mean, that is daring, given that we've been on a journey with Enoch for the last 21 years, or whatever it is. Bren, let's go to you. How long before we win a trophy? I mean, we've got the manager to do it now, right?
Yeah, certainly. It's been 13 years now? 2008? Is that 13 years or 14 even now? So yeah, it just depends. Like the competition is as tough as it's ever been though for those trophies. There are in so many trophies. So if we get a good draw, if we do get past West Ham and one of the big ones, like the Liverpool go out, then we get a relatively easy draw for the semi. The League Cup is a possibility. I'd love, like I said earlier, I'd love to win the FA Cup, but again, it would depend on the draw, depend on who goes out. But yeah, we've got the manager that is a winner. That certainly for domestic titles, he'll keep going. He needs to prove himself in Europe. But yeah, Conte was brought in specifically for that, and it looks like we're sorting things out on the playing staff as well to finally challenge. So yeah, when I don't know, but you'd like to think in the next 12 months that we'd be there or thereabouts in winning one.
Yeah, I think when it comes to the League Cup this season, I can certainly see that if we get past West Ham, which at home you'd think we could, the semi-finals would be like 3 games. If we got Arsenal, it would be 3 games against Arsenal in a week and a half. I can certainly see that happening because it's one of those things that happens. You draw a team and you play them in the league a few days earlier or a few days later. But it would be, I think, the League Cup semi-final on the 5th and the 12th, and then Arsenal in the league on the 16th. That would be a pretty intense, 10-day period for the club. So I could see that happening. And yeah, you're right. We're only 3 games away from Wembley, and yeah, there are lots of good teams left in the League Cup, right? I think the draw has kind of kept everyone apart. I think Leicester Chelsea is one of the other quarters, and Liverpool have got someone. I forget who they've got, but.
Sunderland,
yeah.
I think.
Arsenal. That's the But I think Spurs Arsenal in a semi-final, it'd be like 87 again. Just hopefully a different result would make for a very interesting. I mean, it's a month, not even a month from now. It's crazy.
Yeah. AJ, I like this interesting one. What academy players do you think will break into the first team? The first 2 people on my sort of that pop up in my brain would be Markanday, the forward, and Nar John, because he really impressed him. I saw him. He played at Milton Keynes. He looked great. HG, last academy player you like, we sold to Sunderland. Anyone else take your fancy?
Yeah, but he's not at Spurs right now. I think Troy Parrott has a really good chance. I said that when he was 17. He's still only 19 now, soon to be 20. But I
Is he
think Troy
still at
Parrott.
goals where he is at the moment? Where is he at the moment?
No,
he
he's
was
getting
at MK
assists.
Dons, wasn't he?
He's at Milton Keynes,
He's
yeah.
still is.
Yeah.
I just think that Troy Parrott looks like being one of those. I think he's got a bit of everything. I do. Similar to Kane. Kane wasn't really scoring goals at this age, but I think that Parrott getting regular football is going to help him. And I think that Parrott really does have the quality to be a first team striker at Spurs. Not just a backup, but like actually someone who could not be maybe not as good as Kane, but certainly a Premier League striker. So he would be my choice. I don't know about. I always look for defenders because I'm a defender at heart. I think there's a young right back called Dermi Lusala, but again he's still really young, so it'd be a long time before he was involved. But the academy teams are doing pretty well. So there are players around. Pascozzi is another one who looked comfortable on the ball. But yeah, I don't know. Like Parrott to me is still the obvious choice, even though he's not at Spurs right now.
Pascozzi's impressed a lot of people, hasn't he? Don't quite know what's happened to my camera there, but I'll.
It's fine. It was working perfectly.
Yeah. Oh, don't be like that.
He's a talking cock.
Oh, very twattish of you, Bren.
I was going to say the two that you said, Markanday and Niall John. They seem to be getting the minutes of our academy players in the conference, which was the perfect opportunity to play them in the first place. So, those are the two. Like Markanday's won Player of the Month a couple of times, I think, now this season in Premier League 2 or whatever the under-23 competition is called these days. So, those two look good. And he's Indian as well, isn't he, Markanday? He's a British Indian, which very few break through. There's always a talk of, because there's so many Indian communities in the UK, that there's a surprise that there's not as many players coming through. I remember playing Sunday League, and there was a team called Punjabi FC, I think, 'cause I'm from West London near Southall. So before I keep going on, he is Indian, isn't he? He's Indian British.
Yeah.
It's a cool name as well, Markanday. Yeah. So we look forward to seeing him playing more for Spurs.
Yeah, Markanday's come from nowhere because he wasn't doing much until very recently at all, and then he's absolutely banged him in this season, hasn't he? So hopefully we'll see him in and around the first team soon.
Can I say? I know John hasn't spoken. I'll get John after, but I think Alfie has a chance as well. He's still only 17, but Alfie Devine, I think, has what it takes to be, first team player in the next 2 seasons. Sorry, John, go ahead.
I think he's Divine's just come back from injury. He did play for the under-18s on Saturday. They've gone for a bit of a wobble. They've lost the last 3 games 3-0. I think they've got quite a young under-18 crop at the moment. So he came back in as skipper. The week before, the lad who just signed from Southend was still on trial and was the skipper, a bit weirdly. But I'm just looking at the team from Saturday. I think Adrian's named most of them. I think Harvey White's been having a very good season. The loan he had at Portsmouth did him a lot of good. I've got, obviously, living down this way, I've got a lot of friends at Portsmouth fans, and they said they rated him really highly, but just didn't get the game time, especially when the Cowley brothers came in. Obviously, they were fighting, trying to get them up into the playoffs, and he was very in and out, but he's a talented player. Probably a bit similar to Will Hughes, I'm guessing. He's got that left-footedness, likes to play the sort of more holding position, very good pass with the ball, maybe needs to bulk up a little bit. Parrott, Paul Muir's just commented about Parrott, if you see that one.
Yeah.
Put his stats up. 9 league goals. I didn't realize it was that many, but he certainly seems to be assisting quite often. So I'm wondering if he's doing that Kane's like almost more of a 10 role at times, because he's playing up as a 2, isn't he? And I was thinking, although I think I said a couple of shows ago, I wasn't sure he was going to make it. If he's going to make it under anyone, it'll be Conte, because Conte worked so hard with Lukaku, and Lukaku said that he's done so much for his game. Maybe he can do that with Parrott when he comes back in the summer.
I'm not expecting anything from our academy players in the next 12 months, really. I just think that they're going to get an opportunity to impress in pre-season, and they may well become, kind of the second choice, possibly third choice, just be around with the first team players. But a lot of our academy players, the ones that we're talking about, could do with more loans. Like, he's obviously doing Parrott good, playing regular football. Devine. Again, we forget how young they are. Like I don't think any of them are going to be like Wayne Rooney was at 16. Built like a boxer and ready for Premier League football.
Troy Parrott is built like that, though, actually, isn't he? Troy Parrott.
Exactly. Troy Parrott is what 6'2", and he's always been built. But I don't know. Like I think that if we can get our players ready to be a squad member at 2021, like Winks was, right? That's when he came through without going on loan. Then the academy is actually doing something right. But they have to have senior football. It's so rare to have an academy player come through without senior football and then suddenly be trusted in the first team. Even Skip, although he played a few times for Spurs before he went on loan, the loan is what obviously has made him to be the confident player he is at this level, because he knows he can play with these players. I think for many of our academy youngsters, and even youngsters like Jack Clark or even Sessegnon, they need to really believe in themselves a bit more, and that can only really come from loans, in my opinion.
Will Conte bring through youth as well as Poch? Bren, I mean, no, HG. I'm going to stick with you actually. So I think I know what you're going to say.
Well, I'm just the youth that Poch brought through is Winks. I mean, am I missing anyone? Like, I mean,
No.
obviously Kane got an opportunity under Poch, so you could say that.
Under Sherwood.
Yeah, but you mean like Kane was scoring in the Europa League when Adebayor wasn't, and whoever were the strikers were at that in the 2014 season. Soldado. So like Kane came in, scored. To be fair to Kane, he was scoring when Sherwood was boss too. Like it's not completely out of character that Kane was doing the business, but it is all about like taking the chances when they come. Like if Markanday gets chances at Spurs, I'm not sure. I don't really think that he's going to take them, even if he gets them. And this season, he's probably not going to get them, right? So like Markanday is a weird one because he's probably 20, almost 21 himself. For his career, he needs to get away and play regular football. Well, so it's this weird situation that I do think, as I said, if you go through the academy system without really playing, you end up like Walker Peters, who we got decent money for, but he left at 22 without having really played for Spurs or really playing football. It's not an easy thing to do, but Conte will play players regardless of age if he trusts them. That I do think is true.
Yeah.
But I hope that his philosophy at bringing through young players means that they go out and play football. That to me has to be with the right club and in the right situation, because we saw with Parrott at Ipswich and wherever he was last season before that, Millwall, it just didn't work for him. So it has to be at a team that suits them. But if MK Dons play decent football, you start to build a relationship with these teams in lower divisions, and then the next year maybe Devine will go to Milton Keynes, and Parrott will come back, or maybe you have to give these players a pathway. If they don't see one, they'll do what Madueke did, who left for PSV at 16 and is playing top level European football at 18, 19, but because he thought that was his best way of doing it. And Spurs, sadly, in the last 10 years, haven't really shown young players that they have a pathway to improve as players and then hopefully join the first team.
I mean, Oliver Skipp's the most recent success, isn't it? And he looks a hell of a player. So clearly there is talent in our midst. It's just about bringing it through, isn't it? And I think we don't seem to be bringing many people through to the first team recently. But I don't ever remember us bringing like 3 or 4 people through simultaneously. The lot down the road seem to be doing a better job with it than us, if I'm perfectly honest.
But like even that lot, like Saka is the one that has come straight through, right?
But Chelsea as well. I was thinking.
But I mean, Chelsea players go out on loan. So Reece James was in the Championship for a year at least, maybe even somewhere else as well. Mason Mount went to Holland and then he went to Derby. And they did that at 18, 19. They were getting regular football. I do think that's the big thing. With Saka Saka's a really good player, but even Emile Smith-Rowe went to Huddersfield for a bit.
Yeah.
That they are giving their best young players a chance to not just prove themselves good enough for Arsenal, but prove themselves good enough for senior professional football.
Yeah.
Spurs, under Pochettino didn't really do that very well.
I saw it. It's a myth that Pochettino did much for youth. I think, if I'm being really honest, he didn't really bring lots of players through at all. I mean, you spoke exactly what I was minded to. I mean, don't get me wrong, Poch was a great manager, but I don't think he brought lots of youth through for us.
Yeah, I didn't realise that was what people thought, to be honest. So yeah, but yeah, I mean, I see the comment from King Hoddle that it's a myth. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, there's the comment about elite managers demanding short-term results. It's absolutely true, right? Like, no manager is going to look at and think, "Oh, I've got this 18-year-old. He might be the one to get me out of trouble, or to get me the results I need." That's unlikely. I mean, most managers probably shouldn't do that. Shouldn't expect it. But you have to find a pathway. I really believe that you have to show these kids that, they'll get good money because they're at Spurs and they're obviously very good talents. The money's not an issue, but it's playing time. Players need the chance to play, like, no matter how old they are. But when they're younger and still developing, they need to understand that the difference between youth football and senior football is massive, absolutely massive.
Bren, what improvements do you noticed under Conte then?
On the pitch,
winning matches. I mean, that's good.
I think that the key thing is the effort being put in. You see the distance being run. We are playing further up the pitch. We're playing just a completely different way of playing football. So we're playing more attacking football. We've won games by more than one goal for the first time this season under him now. I think the key is the effort, the running being put in, the determination to see out results, the belief. He's clearly a very, very good manager. I mean, seeing that now, it's just a shame that he didn't come in at the start of the season, because we may well be in the mix if he had been in there, had pre-season, and we didn't have the disruption that we did with Nuno, both in hiring him but then also getting rid of him. All over the place. Like the improvement is clear. Like just from just seeing us play, the effort being put in.
John, you agree?
Yeah, I mean, it was interesting against Norwich because they had more possession, and we seemed. I don't know if it was his game plan, but I know that Steve was telling me how angry Conte was in the first half. But we just seemed to let them have the ball and then just hit them on the counter, didn't we? And we probably made more chances in that game than any other game this season, because it was just there was more space for our attackers to move forward. But we are moving up the pitch far quicker than we were under Nuno. And we're passing the ball with more speed most of the time. There's none of this slow, let's pass it backwards, let's pass it sideways. If we are passing around the back, it's quickly. Even Lloris is pinging the ball some of the times, which gives me the heebie-jeebies at times. But we are moving it quicker. And then there's options. Skip and Højbjerg are moving in the midfield, opening up angles for the centre-backs to pass it to. There always seems to be an option. Under Nuno, they just like, I'll just lose the ball. There seems to be I don't know what he was doing in training and what his game plan was, but you can tell there's a plan now, and the players have got an idea. And if there's no pass, let's ping it forward to Son to run onto, or Lucas to try and run onto if Kane can't get to it. There's different options now.
I think that's the nail on the head to me. More players in the box. So, when we are getting forward, we are seeing more players in the box, thus increasing the chance of scoring goals. It's only very simple. It's so simple, but it is honestly true. I mean, there was no one getting in the box under Nuno. No one. Bonkers. Fitness.
But now you're seeing Ben Davies in the box, aren't you?
Yeah.
Your left side centre back's getting forward there, so it makes a difference.
Feels like everyone's contributing, and that I think that's the biggest thing for me. It feels like it's more of a team than a bunch of individuals thrown on a pitch, which is how it felt. And under I've got it again. What's going on here? I've got a camera issue tonight. I really have. I've got camera issues. I think I've got a dodgy connection. Never mind. You can hear me, right?
We can hear you, caller. Yeah. I found a video on YouTube today. It's a TIFO one about how Spurs are lining up under Conte. It's about 10 minutes long, but it was actually really, really interesting to see the kind of what he's trying to do and have them explain it. Because we can talk about 3-4-3, 3-5-2, or however, but they talked about the movements. They talked about the kind of diamond setup that they try to to move the ball forward and always have always have options. So it's it's a video well worth watching if you haven't seen it already.
Well, there you go. Look, that's an hour and a half. I think we've managed to fill quite well, given there's been no games to talk
Can
about.
I just say one thing before you go?
Of course you can.
Simon says just made a comment saying we haven't scored a corner in 63 attempts. We scored in the last game from a corner.
I was going to say Ben Davis.
We've got a video.
Played the goal from a corner. And then, Ben Davis scored a header. Wasn't that from a corner? From a short corner?
It was a short corner, and then it depends on phases of play. But it was because
counts. Come on.
To me it counts because he was still in the box from the corner. So
and then Sanchez scored from a corner. Yeah,
that's what I'm talking about. And we've got a video.
We have got a video. It's done 103,000 views now. So if you haven't seen it, get on it. Courtesy of the accountant Steve Diver. There he is. One more time, Steve. You'll never send me any photos like that again. Look, I just want to say thanks for joining us, HG.
Yeah, no problem. No, I mean it's always fun. One last thing? We always talk about a winter break. There is no winter break this year in English football. There is a 2-week break at the end of January, but it's not a winter break. It's an international break. But England aren't playing. But there are World Cup qualifiers all around the world. South America have them in January, and Asian have them in January. So this 2-week break that you see in the fixture lists, most players or a lot of our players will be off around the world. It's going to be a manic time.
So there is no winter break, but there is a 2-week break.
It's an international break. That's what it is. It's an international break, but there are no European games. So obviously some players will get 2 weeks with Conte because he won't give them time off.
Yeah, absolutely. Bren, thanks for joining all the way from Brazil.
Cool, mate. Always fun. And we will have a pod out soon. So with no games to review, it's been struggling. But we are interviewing a cat who wrote a book, which the name has escaped me. Do you have it there, caller?
No, not to hand, but I can.
Okay. But yeah, we will release a pod this week, and we'll have a review of if the game goes ahead of the game. Let me see it here. So Tottenham from the Lane. Sorry, Tottenham from the Lane is a book recently published by.
You're not selling it well, Bren. You're not selling.
I know. I've let her down. But we will have a run, and we'll learn about that book, and it'll be out this week.
That'd be good. John, thanks as ever for joining us.
Thanks as always for having me.
South Coast.
I'm amazed we've managed to fill another 90 minutes without
we've done
talking
well.
about the actual game.
We've done well. Much more entertaining than a Nuno Espirito Santo 90 minutes. That's for sure. Yeah. And we'll be back on Friday. So do catch up with the pod. Do subscribe. Hit that subscribe button. And that like button if you haven't already. There you go, covering the guys' faces. That's what we like to see. And until next time, come on, you Spurs.
Come on, you Spurs.